As you know, we look at the seven major currency pairs before we look at other pairs and instruments. Okay, so we'll start with Australian dollar USD. Please mute your mic if there is noise at your end. Mute your mic. Australian dollar USD. What do we have here? As you know, I'd like to start with the weekly time frame. I like to know the trend on the weekly time frame because that's what will determine the trends I would execute or the trades I would execute on lower time frames, like 15 minutes, 1 hour, and 4-hour time frames. So what do we have on the weekly? So last week candle closed bearish. It closed bearish. I was expecting Australian dollar USD to be bullish last week because after the close of this doji, we had a bullish candlestick. This is an inverted candlestick. So based on this, I expected Australian dollar USD to be bullish. Okay, well, you can see that last week candle closed bearish. It closed bearish. Now, after the close of this bearish candle, we had a resistance. Now, the fact that the candle closed below this support indicates that we have more sellers, right? It indicates that the sellers, we have more sellers than buyers, right? So we can't just jump in and buy at the moment. The sellers are still in control, but I feel or I think we might see a change in trend anytime soon. We might see a change in trend anytime soon. Now, since last weekend closed below this support, the next target could be this support. That could be the next target, which is how many pips? Is about 160 pips from the current market price. So it's possible that price would aim for this target. Okay, but like I said, it's possible that the trend changes from bearish to bullish. So at what point should we consider buying? At what point should we consider buying? Now, that is the reason we're going to get the pivot of last week candle, this bearish candle. We will get the pivot value. Also, we could also use this support that has become a resistance as our entry level. So if a candle closes above this resistance level, that's a support, some resistance, we could consider buying. Okay, but let's get the pivot of the candle. So you either use breakout from the resistance or breakout from support, resistance, or breakout from pivots. Okay, so let's get the pivots. Believe you know how to get the pivot value of the candle. You add up the high, low, close price of the candle, then you divide it by 3. Whatever value you get is your pivot value. So let's add up the values. 0.6480 plus 0.6357 plus 0.6376. So that is the pivot of last week candle, which is close to this support zone resistance. Okay, so let's go down to daily. What do we have on daily? Okay, so on daily, you could see that we have several candlestick formation here, indicating that the bears are becoming weaker, okay, which indicates that trend is likely going to change from bearish to bullish. That is what we have here. And you can see that both the pivot, you can see the resistance, sorry, the pivot value is a support on resistance on daily. Can you see that? The pivot value is a support on resistance on daily time frame. And here is the support on resistance on weekly time frame. So this could be our buy zone. This could be our buy zone. So if a 4-hour candle, I always advise that you wait for 4-hour candle to close above this zone, you could consider buying. I hope that is clear. If a 4-hour candle closes above this zone, you could consider buying. But like I said, if we go by the weekly time frame, the trend is still bearish. We have more bears than bulls, okay? So if we are to consider selling, we could risk selling below this support on the daily. This should be our demand zone. So if a 4-hour candle closes below this zone, you might want to consider selling. I hope that is clear. So that is my take on Australian dollar USD. We should look for buy opportunity above this zone, sell opportunity below this zone. But if we look at the chart, we will see that it has been bearish for a long time. It's been bearish. So I think if it will continue with this bearish move, we should see a pullback. Let's say 50% of this move. That is what I'm expecting. Okay, but we could still risk selling if this zone, this demand zone, or you call it your support zone, is broken. Then you could risk selling. And if you are selling below this zone, your stop loss, you should know where you should set your stop loss. Your stop loss should be at your supply zone or resistance zone. If you are selling below a support zone, your stop loss should be at your supply zone or resistance zone. And if you are buying above a supply zone or resistance zone, your stop loss should be at your support or demand zone. I hope that is clear.
Yes.
So let's move down to, we could also get the pivot for on the daily time frame. Okay, we could also get the pivot. Remember I said, when you are getting the pivot value of a candle, you use a strong bullish or bearish candle. A strong bullish or bearish candle. And a candle is said to be strong when the range, that is the difference between the opening and the closing price, is not less than 40 pips. It shouldn't be less than 40 pips. The difference between the opening and the closing price of that candle should not be less than 40 pips. That is my own definition of a strong bearish or bullish candle. So let's see on this daily. And since we are looking for opportunity to buy, we should work with a strong bearish candle. So this is close to 100 pips. You can see. Okay, the opening to close is about 81 pips. Okay, so this is a strong bearish candlestick. Now we know that the trend is what? Bearish based on the weekly time frame breakout from a support. We know that the trend is bearish, but at the same time, we are looking for opportunity to buy because the trend can change anytime. As you know, the market is dynamic. Trend can change anytime. So if we are to buy, we want to look for best price to execute a buy trade. So on a daily time frame, if we are to work with a candle on a daily time frame, it has to be this bearish candle. These are weak candles. We can't use any of these candles here for our pivot calculation because they are weak. So we're going to use this bearish candle, okay, for our pivot calculation. Also, the fact that our weekly pivot, you can see the weekly pivot is lying on the body of this daily candle. That's another reason we are considering using this daily candle, because our weekly pivot is lying on the body. You can see on these previous ones, you would see that the weekly pivot is at the close. Okay, not the body, it's not on the body, it's at the close of these candles. So we can't work with that. This one, the pivot is lying on the body. So that is the reason we are considering using this daily candle. Also, it's the candle that formed for the week. It's one of the candles that formed on the daily time frame for that week, right? Because we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we have to work with this. This was for previous week. All these bearish candles are for previous week. So we are working with the current week candle. I hope that is clear. So let's just get the pivot of that candle. I suppose the pivot of that candle is also the same as the weekly pivot, but let's just get the value. 0.6464 plus 0.6357 plus 0.6377. So this is 0.6393. That's just a few pips above the weekly pivots. So there's a different color for that. I use green for my daily pivots. Okay, you can see. So you can see where we have the daily. And since the daily is in between the resistance, right, and the pivot, we could just, you can delete one of the lines. Okay, you can delete one of the lines. So you can see that this daily is not a key level, right? It's not a key level, but this weekly is a key level because this level was a previous support level, so resistance. You can see 1, 2, 3. So this is key level. Then if you consider this, what was it called? Is it the resistance on weekly? Yeah, resistance on weekly or daily. You would see also it's a key level, resistance, okay, support resistance. So we can do away with this just to make your chart clean. Okay, you can do away with the daily pivot, but let's just leave it. So if this is 6393, this is 6404, the difference is not much. This is just about 11 pips, right? 11 pips difference. So we can remove this. So if a 4-hour candle closes above this level, we'll consider buying. So that's my take on Australian dollar USD. I hope that is clear. And if this level is broken, then we could see price push up to this resistance. That will be the first target. And this could be the second target because we have relative equal high at this level. So this, you can see high at this level, high at this level, high at this level. So we have stop losses at this level. We also have buy stop orders at this level. So they might want to hunt for these levels, okay? Just to clear stop losses at this level, clear liquidity, sweep liquidity at this level. But like I always say, you should be out of the market before price starts reversing, right? So you can set your TP at this level because definitely if price gets to this level, you would see a rejection from that level or this level. So you want to take your profits before price gets to that level where there's a probability for price to pull back. I hope that is clear. Let's move to the next pair. 11th-15th. 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 The next pair will be New Zealand USD. You know, New Zealand USD is positively correlated with Australian dollar USD, and you can see that the formation on New Zealand USD is similar to what we have on Australian dollar USD. Breakouts also on. So you can apply the same analysis on New Zealand USD, right? Tells us that the trend is bearish, right? We go to daily. Let's see what we have on daily. You can see on daily we have candlestick formation indicating change in trend. Okay, right? This is a spanning bottom followed by a doji, followed by inverted armor. This indicates change in trend, right? So you can't just jump in and start buying. We should see price break this resistance, the support stone resistance. Okay, should see price break that level. Let's go down to 4 hour. What do we have on 4 hour? Good. We have a resistance level on 4 hour. So price needs to break this zone for us to consider buying Australian dollar, sorry, New Zealand USD. Yeah, price has to break. A candle has to close above this resistance before we buy, and this will be our target. First target, second target. You can see that the formation is similar to what we have on New Zealand USD. So if you're considering selling, there has to be a breakout from the support. There has to be a breakout from the support. Okay. If there's a breakout from the support, you can wait for a retest. Okay. If a 4 hour candle closes below this support becomes a resistance. You will see price retest that level and continue in its bearish trend. Okay. So that's my take on New Zealand USD. Let's look at USD card. As you know, if you're buying Australian dollar USD, you should consider selling USD card because both are negatively correlated. They are negatively correlated. Okay, so let's start with the weekly. What do we have here? Okay, last week candle closed bullish. Okay, after clearing the stop losses at this level, let's see. Clear the stop losses at this level. Okay, liquidity was swept at this relative equal highs. Okay, so let's go down to daily. What do we have on daily? We should have a resistance on daily. Good. You can see we have a resistance on daily, so we can move this, which is equal high. There are a lot of stop losses at this level, and they might want to hunt for that level before pushing price down. Okay, so last Friday candle closed bearish. It closed bearish. Okay, now if we go down to 4 hour, let's see what we have on 4 hour. We should have a support on 4 hour. Okay, good. So if we go by 4 hour, what we have here looks like a bullish formation, right? This looks like a double bottom. It looks like a double bottom, which indicates bullish setup. So on the weekly, we have a bearish setup. On daily, we have what looks like a bearish setup. But on 4 hour, we have what looks like a bullish setup. And if we go to 1 hour also, what we have there would also look like a bullish setup. Okay, so if you want to sell, this zone must be broken. If a 4 hour candle closes below this zone, then it means 1 hour and 4 hour time frame has aligned with the higher time frame, which is bearish. That is when you will consider selling. You can't jump in and start selling now. You have to wait for this support to be broken before you sell. Okay, so that's my take on USD. Evening, you're welcome. So that's my take on USD card. We should consider selling below this zone. Okay, and if you are considering buying, you should wait for this resistance to be broken. This resistance must be broken before you consider selling, buying USD card. Let's go to 1 hour. Let's see if we can get a more better entry for buy. This is a key level on 1 hour. Okay, this is a key level. So you could also risk buying above this level if a 4-hour candle, please. 4-hour candle should close above that level before you consider buying. If you want to risk buying, wait for 4-hour to close above this zone. This could be your first entry before you buy. Okay, and I did talk about correlation in my previous classes. It's very important that you know how this instrument or pairs correlate. Okay, so for example, USD card is negatively correlated with Australian dollar USD. So if you want to buy USD card, you should look at Australian dollar USD charts. You should have a sell setup on Australian dollar USD. Okay, but if Australian dollar USD is bullish and you are seeing a bullish setup on USD card, there's a high probability that the market might not go in that direction. Do you get it? The market will not go in that direction. You want to be sure that you have a bearish setup on Australian dollar USD and you have a buy setup on USD card. Now, if you have buy setup on both pairs, you can just focus on trading one of the pairs. You cannot buy Australian dollar USD and at the same time be buying USD card. You just take your risk on one of the pairs instead of trading both. Okay, but if you have bearish setup on Australian dollar USD and you have a bullish setup on USD card, there's a high probability that buying USD card would play out, would go in your direction, okay? And selling Australian dollar USD is going to work out. There's a high probability because they are negatively correlated. I hope that is clear. Okay, so that's my take on USD card. Sell below this level. So if I'm considering selling below this level, let's go to Australian dollar USD. If I'm considering selling below that level, then on Australian dollar USD, I expect a candle to have closed above this zone. A 4-hour candle should have closed above this zone on 4-hour time frame on Australian dollar USD. I hope that's clear. So that's my take on USD card. Okay, it could be bullish and it could be bearish. Okay, the market is dynamic. Trend can change anytime. Price can change its direction anytime. As a trader, you have to be flexible. Okay, you have to be flexible. So sell below this, then we could buy above this zone. Okay. Then the next pair is GBP USD. What do we have on the weekly? Okay, you can see GBP USD is still bearish. It is obvious. The support was broken at this point. The support here. That support was broken. Let's go to daily so that you can see that support clearly. So you can see the support here. It was broken. See? And at this point, it was a previous support or resistance turn support, which became a resistance after the candlestick broke out. You can see that. So the formation we have on daily, daily indicates that GBP USD is still bearish. But as you can see, last Friday candle closed as an inverted hammer. It closed as an inverted hammer. If Monday candle closes bullish, then you should consider buying GBP USD. you should consider buying GBP USD. The reason we can't execute a buy after the formation of this inverted hammer is that the body is bearish. It is bearish. If the body was bullish, we could have considered buying GBP USD on Monday. But because the body is bearish, we should wait for the next candle. We need to be sure that we have buyers in the market. And the only way to confirm that is the close of the next candle. The next candle has to close bullish before we would buy. Okay, so if a Monday candle closes bullish, there's a high probability that GBP USD will be bullish. Okay, now if Monday candle closes bullish, we would have a support, right? We would have a new support if Monday candle closes bullish. So if that support is broken, maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, we could see GBP USD sell. We could see GBP USD price drop. Okay, but if Monday candle closes bullish, you should consider buying. Now, if you don't want to wait for the Monday candle to close before you execute a buy trade, what do? You should go down to 4-hour and 1 hour to identify a resistance level. If you don't want to wait for Monday candle to close, okay, go down to lower time frame, 4-hour, 1 hour, and identify a resistance level. If a 4-hour candle closes above those resistance level, you consider buying. I hope you're following. So let's go down to 4-hour. So you can see on 4-hour, we had a support here. This was a support. The market tested that level and there was a rejection from that level. And we have what looks like a doji, which indicates change in trend, right? At this level, doji indicates change in trend, okay? But you don't just jump in and buy because you have a doji candlestick formation. There has to be some other confirmation, other things you need to look out for before you jump into buying GBP USD. Okay, so we had a doji on 4-hour, which indicates in a trend. Now, where do we have the most recent resistance on 4-hour? This is it. So this is our most recent resistance on 4-hour. So if you are considering buying, that is, if you don't want to wait for the Monday candle to close, you should consider buying above 2492. A 4-hour candle should close above 2492. You could also go down to 1 hour. Let's see on 1 hour. Let's see if the resistance on 1 hour is different from, okay. So we had, this was a support, so resistance. Okay. This was support, so resistance. You can use this as your supply zone or resistance zone, or you could also use this. We had the resistance here on 1 hour. So you could either work with this zone or this zone. Patiently wait for a 4-hour candle to close above this zone before you buy. I hope that is clear. Okay? Before you buy, wait for a candle to close above this zone before you buy. Let's go back to daily. What do we have on daily? Okay. So that's my take on GBP USD. The trend, it is bearish. What we have on daily and weekly indicates that the bears are still in control. The bears are still in control. And if we are considering buying, like I said, you should wait for a breakout from a resistance on 4-hour, okay, or 1 hour time frame. The resistance of 1 hour and 4-hour time frame. Wait for the breakout before you consider buying GBP USD. If we also use let's use pivot. Let's see what we have using pivot. So let's get the pivot of last week. On USD card, I didn't use pivot because the candles on the chart were weak candles. But you can see on GBP USD is a strong bearish candle, so we can use pivots, right? We can use pivots. So let's get the pivot value. For those who just joined, to get the pivot value of the candle, you add up the high, low, close price of the candle, and you divide whatever value you get by 3. that gives you your pivot value. And if the market is trading above the pivot value, you want to consider buying, okay? The market is said to be in a bullish sentiment if the market is trading above the pivot value. And if the market is trading below the pivot value, the market is said to be in a bearish sentiment. So the pivot point, pivot analysis is used to determine or define the trend or market sentiment. That is what pivot analysis is used for. Okay, so let's get the value. Now 1.2642 plus 1.2445 plus 1.2461. So that's our weekly pivot. Let's get the daily pivot. Okay, you can see that the weekly pivot is just few pips above the resistance zone, right? It's few pips above the resistance zone. So let's get our daily pivot. So on daily, we would be using this candle on the daily time frame for our pivot point calculation. Why are we using this candle? You can see that the weekly pivot is lying on the body of this bearish candle. That is why we would be using that candle for our pivot point calculation. Okay, on the daily time frame, you can see the weekly pivot is lying on the body. It is not lying on the body of this. If it was on the body of this candle, we would have used it for our pivot calculation. And you can see it is lying on the high of this candle and not the body. So the candle that qualifies on the daily time frame for our pivot is this candle. Okay, so let's get the pivot value. Please mute your mic if there's no, please. So we have 1.2481 plus 1.2587 plus 1.2507, 1.2525. This time I'm going to use a different color. Okay, so that's weekly and daily pivot. Weekly and daily pivot. As you can see, the market is trading below the weekly and daily pivots. You can see the market is trading below the weekly and daily pivots. You can see that price tested, tried to break out from this level, but they couldn't last week. You can see there was an attempt to test this level. You can see that. So they couldn't break out from that level. So if a candle closes above this zone, you might want to consider buying. Okay. Now, I would have said you should jump in and start selling. The reason I wouldn't advise that you jump in and start selling is that we have candlestick formation here indicating that the trend is likely going to change, right? There are candlestick formation here indicating that the trend is likely going to change. But before you jump in and buy, there has to be a breakout from this resistance zone or the pivot zone. Resistance zone or the pivot zone. So when price gets into these different zones, go to lower time frame and see the candlestick formations you have on those lower time frame. It could be engulfing pattern. It could be that you have double bottom to confirm that, okay, it's time to buy. Okay, so the candlestick formation at these zones is what will determine if we can go in and buy. But if our closes above this zone, you could jump in and buy, or you patiently wait for price to get to the zone. But note that if you are entering at this level, above this level, let's say candle close at this level, your stop loss, you can see this is where your stop loss is supposed to be, which is about 81 pips. So the risk will be high. But if you jump in and buy above this level, your stop loss will be at this level, which is still okay, 60 pips, which is still okay. If you are risking 60 pips on a trade, the minimum TP you should go for is 90 pips. That is the minimum, 90 pips. Your risk reward shouldn't go below 1:1.5, minimum. Minimum. Anything less than that would not make you profit in the long run. You won't be consistently profitable, or you won't be profitable in the long run if you're trading with risk reward less than 1:1.5. It's one of the reasons most traders are not profitable. Their risk reward is below 1:1.5. That is why most traders are not profitable, and they won't be profitable trading with such approach. Okay, so always ensure that your risk is your reward is 1.5 times your risk minimum. You can go for 1 to 2, you can go for 1 to 3, depending on your strategy. Okay, so that's it on GBPUSD. And like I said, your risk should determine your reward. If your risk on a trade is 50 pips, your reward should be 75 pips. If your risk is 50, 75 pips. If your risk is 60, 90 pips. If your risk is 100, 150 pips. It shouldn't go below that. Please mute your mind, please. Okay, so which other pair? Okay, Euro USD, and that will be the last pair for tonight's session. If there's any pair you want us to look at outside the 7 major currency pairs, kindly drop it in the comment space. Drop it in the comment space. If there's any pair you're considering trading next week, drop it in the comment space so that we'll look at it together. Okay, as they say, 2 good heads are better than 1. Okay, let's start with the weekly. So you can see on the weekly also, Euro USD is bearish, right? It is obvious. You can't jump in and buy with the price action on the chart. You can't jump in and buy. What will be your reason for buying? What will be your reason for buying? Okay, you could say, okay, I'm considering buying because we have a support here. The market just tested that support level, right? That could be one of the reasons you want to buy. At this point, it was a previous, what's it called? Previous resistance on support. At this level, it was a support. So you might want to consider buying because the market just tested a support. But because the market just tested a support, is not enough reason for you to buy, because last week candle closed strongly bearish, right? So before you consider buying, the market should trade, or a candle should close above a resistance level on lower time frame, right? The markets or a candle should close above the resistance level on lower time frame or above the pivot levels. That is when you will consider buying Euro USD. You can't jump in and buy now. That the market just tested the support is not enough reason. Like I said, it is not enough reason. There has to be a candlestick formation to confirm that there are buyers in the market before you execute a buy trade, right? So let's go down to daily. What do we have on daily? So on daily, you can see we have a candlestick formation on daily, indicating that the trend is likely going to change from bearish to bullish, right? We have, this is an inverted hammer. This is an inverted hammer. Inverted hammer is a bullish reversal candlestick formation. So this indicates that the trend is likely going to change from bearish to bullish. So we have 2 confirmations now, right? The market tested the support, one. Then we have a candlestick formation on 1 hour, on daily, indicating change in trend. Okay, now, like I said, a candle must close above a resistance level. Now, on daily, this will be our resistance level on daily, right? It was a support here. After the close of this bullish candle, we had a support here, which became a resistance. After this candlestick broke out from that support, it became a resistance, and we have a new support at this level. If you go back here, you would see it was also a support level. Okay, so let's go down to 4 hour. We need to identify resistance on 4 hour. You can see the daily resistance was also a resistance on 4 hour, right? Let's go down to 1 hour. Let's see the resistance on 1 hour. Okay, so on 1 hour, we have our resistance here, right? These are the resistance on 1 hour. So we might want to wait for price to break this zone before we consider buying Euro USD. And if a 4 hour candle breaks below this zone, Euro USD would continue with its selling trend, the bearish trend, if a 4 hour closes below this zone. So these are the areas you should consider buying or selling. Buy if a 4 hour candle closes above this zone. Sell if a 4 hour candle closes below this zone. If you are buying above this zone, you are considering setting your stop loss at the support zone. And if you are selling below the support zone, you are considering setting your stop loss at this resistance zone. It's as simple as that. Keep it simple. Your system doesn't have to be complicated to make you profit consistently in the market. Keep it simple. The traders that make money in this market are those who keep their system very simple, very simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. I've been trading in this industry I've been in this industry for over 10 years, okay? And I've tried many systems. The more complicated it is, the more difficult trading becomes. That's just the truth. Keep it simple. Okay, so I think that will be all. Is there any other pair we've not looked at? Okay, USD CHF. We've not looked at USD CHF. Let's see USD CHF. So let's start with the weekly. So last week candle closed strongly bullish, right? It's closed strongly bullish. So we cannot jump in and sell, right? If you want to sell, what would be your reason for selling? Why would you want to sell when last week candle closed bullish? And if we get the pivot of last week candle, you would see that the market is trading above the pivot of last week candle. Yeah, this candle closed above its pivot, okay? So now if you're considering selling, your reason could be that, okay, we had a support here, right? We had a support here. Then if you go back, we had a support here too. So it could be that this resistance zone is the reason for a little rejection we saw last week. So it's possible that price starts dropping from this zone. It is possible, right? This is a resistance zone, a very strong resistance zone. So the question now is, would this resistance zone play out? Would it hold? Okay, but we can't just jump in and start selling. So that could be our first reason for considering selling. The market just hits a key resistance level. Okay, so let's go down to daily. Like I said, if you are considering selling, you should wait for price to break a support on lower time frame before you consider selling, or price closes below the pivot of the weekly candle and daily candle before you consider selling. You cannot just jump in and start selling when you are seeing a bullish candle. Okay, so let's go to daily. What do we have on daily? Okay, so on daily, we have candlestick formation here indicating that the trend is likely going to change from bullish to bearish. This is a shooting star, right? A bullish shooting star. If this was a bearish shooting star, that is, if the body was bearish, we could have considered selling. But because the body is bullish, we can't jump in and sell. Before we sell, We want to be sure that we have sellers in the market. And the only way to confirm that is for the next candle to close bearish. So you can see the next candle closed bullish. That didn't confirm that there are sellers in the market. So we could have entered sell. Then the last candle, which was on Friday, closed as like an angry man. Yeah, it's an angry man, right? But it's not a valid angry man because one, the body is bullish. Some people can call this a spinning top. You can call it a doji. Doji, angry man, spinning top. Those three candlestick formation are bearish reversal candlestick. So you could call it angry man. You could call it doji. You could call it spinning top. Okay. So since we have this formation here, it indicates that bullish, we can't jump in and sell. The next candle must close bearish. So if Monday candle closes bearish, there's a high probability that USD CHF would sell. If Monday candle closes bearish. Now, if Monday candle closes bearish, we would have a new resistance, right? A new resistance will be formed if Monday candle closes bearish. Now, if you are considering buying, that resistance level must be broken before you consider buying. Are you following? Before you consider buying, that resistance level must be broken. Now, if the Monday candle does not close bearish and price keeps going up, you should consider buying above this zone. If a 4-hour candle closes above this zone, that is when you will consider buying. Let's go down to 4-hour. Let's see what we have on 4-hour. So on 4-hour, we need to identify the most recent support on 4-hour. So this will be our support on 4-hour, right? These are most recent support on 4-hour, and we have a resistance on 4-hour. So this should be your buy zone. If a 4-hour candle closes above this level, you don't have to wait for it to get to this level before you buy. You have a zone here to work with. So this could be your first entry on buying if a 4-hour candle closes above this zone. Let's go to 1 hour if we have a new support on 1 hour. Okay, so on 1 hour, we had the support here. So this will be your sell. You can see support here. You go back here. What do you have? It was a previous resistance turn support or support turn resistance, right? Resistance turn support. Okay, you can see it was a resistance here, became a support after this candle broke out from that level. So this will be your sell zone, your support zone. If the support is broken, you want to consider selling USD CHF. Okay, you can see that price has been in a range from this point, 6th of June, no, 6th of September to 8th of September. That's like 2 days. USD CHF was in a range for 2 days. Okay, so you know how you trade ranging markets. When price in a range, you should wait for price to break out from the resistance, the higher of the range, and also if you want to sell, you should wait for a breakout below the low of the range. So that's it for USD CHF. So let's look at, someone said we should look at gold. Okay, that will be the last instrument for tonight's session. Gold. Gold is positively correlated with GBP USD. It is positively correlated with GBP USD. Okay, so if we're expecting to buy GBP USD, we should expect a bullish move on gold also. But let's just analyze the charts. So on the weekly, what do we have? So what do we have? Last week candle closed on bearish. That confirms that gold is still bearish at the moment. It is still bearish at the moment. After the close of last week candle, we had a resistance, right? So if we are considering buying, then we should expect a candle to close above this resistance level before we consider buying. Now, if you want to buy from this level, from the current market price, what would be your reason for wanting to buy? it would be this. We had a support here, right? That could be the reason you want to jump in and start buying, right? We had a support here. Last week, candle tested that support. If you go back here also, you will see that it was a support at this level too. So I think that's what is holding price now. This support is what is holding price. Okay, so you might want to consider buying. Okay, but like I said, since last week candle is strongly bearish, you can't jump in and buy. We have to ensure that a candle closes above a resistance on lower time frame. Okay, so if you look at what we have here, you can see on daily, we have candlestick formation here indicating change in trend. So on the weekly, the market tested a support level on the weekly, and on a daily, we have candlestick formation indicating that the trend is likely going to change from bearish to bullish. Okay, so our entry will be breakout from resistance. That's our entry. It will be breakout from resistance. So where do we have our resistance on 4 hour? This is it. You can see this is our resistance on 4 hour. At this point also, we had a resistance. This was a resistance, right? Okay, yeah. This became a resistance, support stone resistance, okay? So if a 4 hour candle closes above this level, there's a probability that gold will buy, okay? There's a probability that gold will buy. So if you are considering selling, we had a support here on 4 hour, identify the support. We also had the support here, so you should wait for a breakout from this support before you consider selling gold. Buy above this zone, sell below this zone. If you are selling below this zone, your stop loss should be around this zone. And if you are buying above this zone, your stop loss should be around this zone. Calculate the risk, multiply it by 1.5 minimum. Okay, if it is 70 pips, multiply 70 by 1.5. That should be about 105. Right? Yeah, 105. If you multiply it by 2, that should be 140 pips. So you had 140 pips to your entry price. That should be your take profit. Okay, so I think that will be all for tonight's session. Let me unmute you so that you can, if you have questions, let me take your questions. Mr. Festus, if you have any question, you can unmute your mic.
No, I don't have a question. Everything you spoke this night is very clear.
Oh,
I have
thank you very much. Thank you. Infinite Smart 5. If you have any question, you can unmute your mic. If you're the one using Infinite Smart 5, you can unmute your mic.
Yes, sir.
Hello, can you be more audible? Infinite Smart. If you're the one using iPhone, unmute your mic. I've granted the permission. Unmute your mic if you're the one using iPhone. If you have any question. Any question? Mr. Makinwa, you can unmute your mic if you have any question.
No question. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Normally, the class is supposed to hold on Sunday, but I won't be available tomorrow. That's why I decided let's meet tonight. Okay. So the next session is likely going to be on Sunday. Okay. I will always notify you guys on the time and the day for the session. Okay. I really appreciate you all for showing up for tonight's session. If you have any question, you have my WhatsApp number. You can always drop me a message on WhatsApp. I will definitely attend to it. Okay. Do have a wonderful night.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.